Konnichiwa, Son Jackson. Yukisho Nerdy Bones.
Arigato.
Aha. And we're back in the studio. What's up? So what I just said was, hey, what's up, Nick? And welcome to Nerdy Bones.
Hopefully you got that right.
Yeah, well
I mean, you got it right.
It's very, neither one of us speak Japanese.
Yeah.
But I looked into pronunciation, tried to get the exact things right, and that's the phrase that you would say. Is, I really... I thought about a bunch of phrases to say, and I was like, that's the best one to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are we doing tonight, man?
Oh, we're talking about samurai.
The samurai. And I'll get into this when we start the story, but we're going to do Samurai and the Jedi, which is basically the same characters.
And then we're also going to talk about Mandalorians.
Yeah, little splash of the Mandalorians and like the Mandalorian War.
So without further ado, let's get into our first topic, samurai.
Bear with me. I had to let that one go a little bit long because, like I was telling Nick earlier, this kind of shit is like near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you before, do you believe in reincarnation?
I do.
Yeah.
Before we get all that, though, you want to tell people the name of that song?
That is actually called The Virtue of the Samurai.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure people knew that.
Yeah, that's actually a public domain song from Japan. It's basically, for the lack of a better way to put it, it's more or less in Japan, it's like row your boat. It's the virtue of the samurai. It's something that like kids learn to play when they're like 5 years old. So
wow.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. Like,
yeah, that's interesting.
Like
I'm already learning something today.
Yeah, like I'm deeply like my dad. I'll get into this in a second, but Did I interrupt what you were saying?
No.
So, but like, do you believe in reincarnation?
Yeah, I'd say I do.
Yeah. So this is silly. You guys can chastise me all you want, but my very first martial arts instructor used to tell me I was an old soul.
Yeah.
And I personally believe I'm a practicing Buddhist because of Bushido and the samurai, and I believe I was there.
I remember my dad used to tell me, like, I think he told me once, but for some reason it stuck out in my mind, was he actually believed that he had a past life where I think he fought in like World War II.
Yeah. Well, like where I think my shark phobia came from was from a past life regression of falling off a boat wearing samurai armor and drowning because I couldn't swim.
Really?
Yes, I have. It's a very
that's interesting.
It's a very, very vivid memory or dream that I have all the time of falling into the water and having.
That's definitely a topic we should do at some point. Is past life regression.
Yeah, and I had this. I could draw you this picture of falling off of a boat and sinking to the bottom in a school of sharks at the top of the water, and I'm laying there fucking drowning.
Shit.
Yeah, I really think that's where that fucking fear comes from.
Wow.
And if you don't believe in past life, whatever. But like that's just where I kind of wanted to start things.
Yeah.
But like why I wanted to start off with that is because how much I love this stuff.
Yeah.
My dad used to tell me all the time when I was a kid. He used to tell me all the time, he's like, man, you should have been born in Japan like 1,000 years ago. My dad used to tell me that shit.
Wow.
Because of just how much I look at it, and I like, the stuff I have on the walls here is all from Japan. It's like I have a Bushi hat over there, and so I'll start off from here. I'm like rambling because I'm like excited.
Yeah.
So
I can tell.
My bad. So, but the samurai study their code is Bushido. So you would be called a Bushi if you were a practitioner or were a samurai.
Okay.
And the big thing is the samurai were Japan's first military. They were the very first. Like there was, I'll get into like daimyos and shoguns and shogunates, but they were the very first military of Japan. They were the ones that fought the individual wars in between individual families. So like they would fight for land. They would fight for rights to resources, stuff like that.
Well, like the only people they really answered to were the emperor, right?
Yes. The emperor would give give orders to the daimyo, and then the daimyo would give orders to the shogun,
Okay.
and then the shogun would give orders to the samurai.
So it's kind of like we have in the U.S. is with the president going down to generals,
Yes,
going down to
exactly,
commanders.
exactly.
Okay.
So the big thing I want to get into, starting this topic off, is weaponry.
Okay.
Because the weapons are what define the samurai.
Yeah.
So first off, you start with the katana.
Mm.
The katana is a legendary weapon.
Oh yeah.
A legendary weapon.
Everyone always wants to own one too.
Yeah.
It's like I would love to have like a katana in my house.
So do you know how the katana gets its curve?
It's something to do with like the way they hammer the steel or something. I don't know.
That's the start of it.
Tell me.
But katana every katana has a unique curve, just like a fingerprint.
Really?
Yeah. So they start off straight, and they use a harder steel, for the actual blade portion of it, and they use a carbon-rich steel on the back of it that they actually coat with clay while they're forging it. And they also fold any katana worth its steel is folded at least 200 times.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah. So what they do is they put the softer carbonated steel in the back that's coated with clay, and they fold it and they fold it and they fold it and they fold it, and it's straight the whole time. But what they do is when it's ready to go, they quench it in oil, and then that carbon at the back, the molecules contract, and giving it a curve.
I'm trying to remember the amount of time it takes to make just one sword.
About a year.
Just make one sword.
About a year. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, actually, the tradition is you contemplate the blacksmith would actually meditate on that blade for a year before he even started.
And I'm sure those were big status symbols too. Like, of certain blade makers, like, oh, well, I got a, such and such blade. And it's like, well, because they were at a higher status.
Yep.
So that was definitely, that was a status symbol.
Yeah. And
was it the nicer blade you had by a certain master of weaponry.
Well, and the big thing is the katana is the soul of the samurai. It's believed to actually contain the soul of its wielder.
Oh, well, I actually want to get into something. Well, you just remind me of DC Comics, where there's a character named Katana, and actually, like all the, it contains all the souls of the people she's killed.
Yeah, she was in Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
that's kind of that has to be where they probably were like, oh shit, we got to do this.
Oh, totally,
we got to do this.
Totally.
So what I want to get to next, without taking broad strokes, the samurai carries 4 weapons. Each one of them has a very specific utilization.
Okay.
Okay, so
they're tools.
Yeah. So next you have the wakizashi.
Okay.
The wakizashi is a slightly smaller katana, and that blade is for it to be used indoors.
Okay.
So you have your katana.
How long is it? Probably like a foot or something.
It's about 13 inches shorter than the katana.
Okay, so maybe a couple feet at most.
Yeah. Well, your average katana is about a yard.
Okay.
It's about a yard. So this blade is to be used inside. This is it's
a close combat weapon.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then after that, you have the tanto, and the tanto is only to be used on yourself.
Oh. And every samurai carried one.
Yes.
Okay.
That is only to be used on, and I'll get into that.
Yeah.
But that's only to be used on yourself. And then the very last one.
Imagine carrying something around for 40, 50 years, and it's just never been taken out.
Exactly. So, and then, it's not the very last one, but the next one I want to get into is the naginata. The naginata is imagine a staff with a katana blade on top of it.
Oh, okay.
And that's to be used on horseback.
Ah.
That's
kind of a lance.
It's a lance, but with katana on the end. And
that's some scary shit right there.
But the thing is when you get into the katana blade, it's a marvel of engineering before they even understood what it was for. Not what it was for, but what it was capable of.
I got a quick question. Do you have any idea how many samurai were around and say the most
in their highest population?
Yeah. In their peak.
Well, the biggest thing is Japan's a very small island, and every area would have a shogun.
Okay. And
a shogun was a military leader, and then the shogun would give orders down to the daimyo, and then down to the samurai.
Well, because the way I'm going with this is I'm thinking if there were say, we'll just put an example 1,000 samurai, but they all needed weapons. Like, okay, how many like blacksmiths were there to make these weapons? Well, so it almost seemed like it's like such a like predominant job was just making weapons,
making the katana.
Weaponry. So it's like they almost had like a cultural war in that way.
Well, they had. Are you familiar with the word Damascus?
Oh, I know the name of the city.
Yeah, well, Damascus steel was the strongest that was out there.
Okay.
Until the advent of the samurai technique of metallurgy.
Okay.
So,
well, those are widely regarded as pretty much the best swords you can get.
Yeah, they're actually designed. Actually, in my research, they're actually designed so a 5-year-old could use them.
Wow.
That's how light they were.
Jeez.
And like I'm gonna get into blunt force trauma and sharp force trauma.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Okay. Anyway, I interrupted you.
No. But like I wanted to like kind of highlight their weaponry and to like they were highly regarded as like you basically if you were a peasant, let's say a peasant in feudal Japan and a samurai rode by, you gave them the utmost respect.
Oh yeah,
because they were
they were knights, pretty much.
Basically, like they were the warrior that was protecting you. You know, like they were the ones that.
So you want to piss that guy off?
Yeah. So and most samurai existed during the Edo period. It's Edo period, and that was around the time of 1300 to 1863.
Oh wow!
You know, so
like,
yeah.
Oh, long time. That's
yeah,
that 500 years.
Yeah. So that was the basic time where the samurai like existed and did their job, and like they ran like any war, like because you have to think about in that time period, most wars specifically took place between other Japanese.
Yeah.
You know, like they weren't really going out and
they weren't dealing with like the Chinese.
No. Well, they were, and there was actually a occupation of China from Japan, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, like the Japan actually.
Funny how they turned that around in World War II.
Yeah, like Japan actually occupied China for a while, and that's where a lot of other like martial arts came about. Because like when the Japanese were occupying Japan, they weren't allowed to employ self-defense.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you know that's where like there's a movie called The Chinese Connection, which is with Bruce Lee. That talks a lot about that.
When did that happen?
It was the early 1900s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have the exact date. I didn't write that down.
Well, they were starting to take over different parts of that region too. Like,
they even stretched into Mongolia.
Oh, they were going into Tibet, but that wasn't until like I think like the 30s or something.
Yeah,
30s or 40s. Yeah. I'm only thinking of like there was that movie with Brad Pitt about.
Oh, what was that? 7 Years in Tibet.
Yeah, 7 Years in Tibet. Yeah, about like the Buddhists kind of having to leave and flee. Like that. Honestly, if the Dalai Lama showed up in Tibet now, he'd be arrested.
Yeah. But the next thing I want to get into is the individual clans and their armor. Every single clan had their own armor, like I have it right here on my body. Yeah. Each one of them had what you would call an oni. And an oni is like, imagine like a samurai mask. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
And it was that's what this is on my arm, and it's depicted as a demon.
It's a mask.
Yes, it's a mask. And the thing is, they used oni to be scary. You know, it's they.
That's happened through a lot of cultures. You know, they make a mask or something to try to frighten their enemy.
And then the thing is,
even actually to go back to the episode we did about pirates with Blackbeard.
Yes.
Like he light like slow match, which are like slow burning wicks on like around his head,
make himself look scary as fuck.
That was kind of a mask in a way.
Exactly. And I really thought it was interesting that every clan had their own armor, had their own color, had their own like different like.
Well, see, I go back into people making weapons. Like people were also making armor, so it's like how much of their economy was just based on
steel,
the samurai
and steel.
Oh yeah,
you know, like because
even like people are just digging up minerals to make steel. I mean,
bridles.
You got to wonder if like maybe like half of the population was just involved in just samurai.
So, yeah, exactly.
Weaponry.
But the thing is, you make a great point.
Armor.
You make a great point because you have to support the samurai, otherwise you're defenseless. Like like that's the mindset of the culture. Like
this is all stuff I hadn't thought of before.
Yeah, just think about like because Japan's this tiny little island.
Yeah.
Think about if some invading force comes in, you don't have the samurai. What are you gonna do, man? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna pick up your pitchfork from picking up your hay and like throw on some leather like coat that you might have, hoping it would stop a blade?
Yeah.
You know. And,
well, I got ask this like I mean, because we did an episode about ninjas to get back, well, pirates and ninjas. Or I should just say ninja because there's no like plural. I think.
No, there's no plural.
But when did the ninja show up?
The ninja actually is kind of funny. The ninja was actually devised. I didn't really get into it in our ninja episode. But it's actually devised to actually counteract the samurai. All of their weapons.
Because they were the lower class people.
Yes. And then the thing is that samurai would actually hire ninja to do jobs that weren't in the code of honor of Bushido. And I'll get into Bushido. But like it's the ninja were peasants. You got to look at the samurai as like
the knights.
Yes, the knights is the best way to put that. You know, like they're
and the ninja were more like the just kind of regular everyday fighters.
Yes, exactly.
The army.
And you got to remember like Bushido, and I'm gonna get into this on the next topic here. But the samurai were super highly skilled. They started training from the age of 5.
Wow.
If you were picked to be a samurai for your daimyo, you went into a samurai school or to a clan.
Now,
go ahead.
No, was it something that like just a peasant could be picked out to become a samurai?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I actually kind of like that.
Absolutely.
Because when you were like, you know, knights,
because it has
like,
nothing to do with like bloodline.
Yeah, because knights, that's what they did was like, oh, if you're a part of a certain family, like you'd be a knight.
If you showed aptitude,
which is probably something we'll get into with Jedi, actually.
Zinga.
I'm kind of tying those two together a little bit.
So like you actually were at the age of 5. The whole reason, well, not the whole reason, but one of the aspects of the katana was to be light.
Yeah.
And like so a 5-year-old could start learning how to use it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And I'm going to get into like I'll talk about like sharp force trauma here in a minute. But what I want to get into right now is jiu-jitsu and kendo.
Okay.
You know, so jiu-jitsu is one of the styles that is, I always say, near and dear to my heart in this show. But it's because we're picking topics that are near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I trained jiu-jitsu.
We do this for us, man.
Yeah, I trained jiu-jitsu for almost 7 years.
Yeah.
Never did kendo. But the whole reason, okay.
If you want to learn more about martial arts, there was actually a whole episode.
We do have a martial arts episode.
We did on martial arts. Just look up, just look for the episode martial arts. That's it.
So jiu-jitsu is what you would call a grandfather art. Almost every single martial art in the world has aspects of jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
It's at the point of almost like 8,000 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, like so. And here's this.
Predated the samurai.
Yes. And what's really cool is the samurai employed jiu-jitsu. If you guys don't know anything about jiu-jitsu, it's joint manipulation, hyperextensions, pressure points.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah.
So thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, so the big thing is, okay, like we talked about before, you're standing head to toe in fucking steel armor. Punching somebody's not going to do any good. So you take them to the ground and lock them up. You break a bone. You hyperextend. You hurt them. You know, like that's
just why it's probably so predominant in the UFC.
Exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned that because there's something that I wanted to highlight. I just got a story today on my Facebook feed of a guy that is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He was out hiking, and I actually looked into this. He was out hiking and got attacked by a mountain lion.
Shit.
Choked the mountain lion to death.
Oh, fuck.
I'm not, dude. Seriously, I can show it to you. He fucking took this lion's back. Do you know what that means? Like he got under hooks, but he like got behind him and fucking put in a choke and choked a mountain lion to death.
Wow.
That shows you that's the power of jiu-jitsu. You're not gonna karate chop it today.
I wonder if he took the body or anything.
He deserves to have that pelt.
Well, I actually like. It's kind of bad to say, but I was listening to a Rogan podcast, and he had a hunter on, and he actually said mountain lion meat is really good.
Why not? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Kind of a little bit of a side topic,
but I thought you think that was cool though.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Dude, that's a good example.
Dude fucking choked out a mountain lion. So what I'm getting at is like wearing armor. You can punch me all day.
Yeah.
But if you can manipulate my joints, break my arm, hyperextend my ligaments. You know, there's a saying when I studied kendo, there's a swordsman with one hand is seldom a good swordsman. You know, like so, like
Yeah.
you know, so that's you learn to. Samurai didn't really specialize in hand to hand because they were all about blades.
Oh yeah.
But if you're in head to toe armor, dude, what else are you gonna do? You know, like a katana is not gonna cut through steel. Is as mythical of a weapon it is, it's not gonna cut through steel.
No.
So like if you get into hand to hand, you both drop your blades. You got to break each other.
Yeah.
You got to fucking break each other. And then you get into the next thing I want to step into is kendo. Kendo is the art of the katana. You know, and that dude, so gorgeous to watch. You know, like one of the things I want to like mention is when you put your sword away in kendo, like when you do like a kendo technique, you know, like you'll do like a kata as they call it, and which is like movements to mimic a fight. And when you put your katana away, one of the interesting things is when you put your katana is blade up when you put it away. And I've always thought that was kind of interesting. It's never blade down; it's blade up when you put it away.
Okay.
But before you put your this isn't all katas with kendo. You actually do this.
Oh, you kind of shake it off.
You shake the blood off before you put it away.
Well, I always think like you kind of run your katana like over the what is that? The hilt.
Yeah. Well, you have to do that.
You run it over the hilt and then you put it in.
Yeah, it's because you're showing respect to the blade when you do that. That's what that is. You're actually returning it to its home and showing respect to the blade. Yeah. Like you don't just like.
Well, one thing I think you're pointing out too is the art of making of a katana is actually an art form.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was not treated as just like you're making me a weapon.
No.
It was like, no, you're making me a piece of art.
Exactly. That I'm going to defend myself.
And they treat it with respect.
Yeah, like I'm going to defend myself with this. I'm going to defend my land with this. I'm going to do my daimyo's bidding with this.
Yeah.
This.
It was their life.
Yeah,
it really was.
That's why
they lived and died by the sword.
Exactly.
You know?
And one of the big things I wanted to mention is katanas are not made to be clashed.
Oh, really?
They like in a real. I'm going to get into this later. I'm jumping ahead. So
well, that's why if you look at like for some like if people are like appraising like Civil War swords or probably katanas and they see those little marks, they're like, this was in battle.
Yeah.
And that's why they can kind of distinguish like presentation swords or something or different kinds of
show
swords. Show swords. Yeah. Because like there aren't any marks on them from like, you know, it hitting another sword.
Well, I'll get into that in a minute. But the thing is they're not made to be clashed. So what I'm going to hop into right now is the way they fought, which was very, very, very brutal. And so what a big classic thing was the samurai duel. And, you know, there's actually accounts of them standing facing each other in position for hours.
Really?
Yeah, because you do not clash a katana. You take a precision strike.
I always think of it as like it's a sword fight, or like, oh, they have a sword, you know, a katana. It's like they're kind of fencing.
You can, but that's not what they're for.
Okay.
Like a katana is like literally.
I'm learning a lot today.
Well, like two samurai would honorably, in the way of Bushido, take a duel, and they would stand and they would literally like be in a stance, sword, and for an hour. Like staring at each other, waiting for a weakness, waiting for an opening, because you don't want to clash your blade, because that would make it less sharp. The thing about the katana is it's a what you would call a sharp force weapon, not a blunt force weapon. And one of the things that they actually did was they would rate blades by body. Anything less than a 5-body blade was not acceptable.
How do you mean like 5 body?
Let me explain.
Yeah.
So what they would do? No. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
So what they would do is they would actually tie prisoners up, and with their hands like on a branch, and they would put them belly to back, belly to back, belly to back, and in one single swipe. If it didn't make through 4 torsos, it was not acceptable.
What? My eyes just like went big. Like, what?
So let me.
That's fucked up, man.
So let me explain the mechanics of this.
Wow.
So the mechanics of using a katana is you want to strike. Okay, you guys can't see me, but Nick can kind of. Okay, so this pen in my hand.
Yeah.
I'm holding it like a sword. So what you want to do? Say the hilt of the blade is right here.
Yeah.
Can you tell them what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, on the top.
So what you want to do anytime you
right above your thumb.
Anytime you contact with katana, you want that to be the contact point, and the curve is where you get your surface area, and you drag and cut. Wow. I mean, think about like cutting food. If you slice,
Okay.
It's literally a dragging.
You're
weapon.
talking about slicing bodies now, man.
Uh-huh.
You know what though? I want to put the.
I wish you guys could see my eyes. I'm like,
God, you really are you should be on a list. But I wanted to say was I bet it was considered kind of an honorable way to die by a samurai blade.
Yeah, absolutely. Testing blade.
Yeah.
Testing blade. Absolutely.
It's probably an honorable form of execution.
Yeah. And there was 2 ways to do it. They would either tie you up on a tree branch to where your feet were suspended, and the other way was actually bend your back over a rock. And anything less than a 4-body blade is not acceptable.
Oh, I just realized, like, I know we're gonna get into Jedi later, but I also realize now that Klingons are kind of probably actually drawn. They draw upon like samurai a little bit.
Well, they're a code of honor.
Yeah,
code of honor. Like I neglected
more so the honor part than anything. Like the honor part in like with Jedi, like you never hear about that part really.
Well, the one thing I neglected to talk about earlier was the code of Bushido.
Yeah.
And the best way to equate Bushido is like you talked about it earlier. Is think about chivalry.
Oh, okay.
That's like the best way to equate it.
Yeah. And I actually want to say too. I know you're going to get into this later, but like with Klingons, like there are actually rites of like killing yourself to keep your honor.
Yep. Yep.
Or a certain way, like if you lost your honor, if you like killed yourself a certain way or died a certain way, like you keep your honor. And
well, yeah.
I'm sure that actually does go back a lot back to samurai. And I really actually never thought about the fact that samurai are actually. Or Klingons are very much influenced by, at least the honor code, by samurai.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's taken me
actually, I never thought
all
about
my
that
life, and I'm just now realizing this at this moment. Yeah,
it was mind blasting.
Yeah.
So what I was going to get into with, I kind of got off on a tangent there, but I was talking about sharp force trauma. Like you hear about blunt force trauma all the time.
Yeah.
But I came across an account of a mass grave. It was 400 bodies with sharp force trauma.
Shit.
So that is.
So it was like pretty much a genocide at that point.
Well, it was a battle.
Oh,
it was
okay.
It was just a battle.
Oh, okay.
It was just a battle. And the thing about
I thought they were prisoners who were
no.
Okay.
Oh, there is kind of like a little story that goes into that to where I'll get into a little bit later of the Hojo, against. There was this specific battle was. I'll just get into it because so there was a band of samurai that were under a daimyo named Hojo, and he was going against the emperor at the time, and I think it was Tokugawa. That's probably not right, but like this was basically your Japanese Civil War. Like they decided that they wanted things to change, and a war ensued, and they actually sent the emperor at that time sent a ninja or samurai assassin, not a ninja assassin. Sent
and samurai didn't really do assassinations.
Exactly.
That was what you got the ninja for.
That's below the Bushido.
Oh.
That's below.
Well, what year did this Civil War happen in?
1392.
Oh, so ninja. Like I asked you earlier about how long ninja have been around.
Yeah.
They pretty much been around as long as the samurai.
Yeah. They were the anti.
Probably within like 100 years.
So the thing is that they actually they actually found the skeleton of this specific fight that I'm gonna get into. This guy was a Hojo samurai. The skeleton they found was a Hojo samurai. Hojo is not a term; it's a name. He was a samurai under a man named Hojo.
Oh, okay.
He was his daimyo. So the thing.
I got to ask too. I know I keep.
Ask as much as you want, dude.
I know. Did they find them the bodies still with armor on?
No.
So it kind of degraded by then. Or?
Well, the weird thing about
I would think actually that the steel would have lasted longer than that.
Well, the weird thing about this is this Hojo samurai was actually found buried with his wife and child. Yeah.
In a mass grave.
Yes.
Wow.
They were like literally together. Like they put them
You're blowing my mind, dude.
Yeah, they actually buried them together because the thing is this imperial samurai came in and basically assassinated this samurai, his wife, and his and his daughter.
But he was still in a mass grave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's really hard to explain. Like, so the house of a samurai is sacred. The area around it is like, you got to protect this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
But the house of a samurai is sacred. So what happened by all forensics is the assassin came into their home, so the Hojo samurai was not wearing armor.
Oh, okay.
There was a battle,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually showed like the sharp force trauma. So the thing is like this samurai was probably inexperienced. He was trained, but probably never had an actual battle.
Oh.
So because he had defensive wounds on his right arm. So like it's basically that he held his right arm up, and the katana struck his arm, and through the sinew, through the muscle, fucking 3 inches into the bone.
Wow.
Yeah, a single strike, dude.
Damn.
a single strike.
It shows you how sharp those blades were.
Yeah, and then they actually showed his skull. He had 3 sharp force trauma to the skull.
Wow.
And then what I'm going to get into next here is okay, so that killed that samurai.
Oh yeah.
And then his wife took up the blade. The thing is, in samurai culture, the woman was just as adept in battle as the man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were not looked down on. They were 100%.
They were capable, but they didn't fight with them.
Fuck yeah, they did.
Oh, they did?
Wait,
no. Wait, what?
Yeah.
You're doing it again, man.
Yeah.
You keep blowing my mind tonight. But wait, there were female samurai?
Fuck yeah. They were just
I never knew that.
They were just as respected as males.
Wow.
Yeah.
And were they but how many female samurai were really out there?
They were the wives of the samurai. If you were a wife of a samurai, you were expected to know your shit with a blade.
Wow.
You were expected to know your shit.
So if they were off at war, if their husbands were off at war and somebody tried to attack them, like they knew their shit.
They were expected.
And ninjas showed up to assassinate them.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, they were expected.
But they did have, there were females that would go into battle with the men.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and they had their own individual armor too.
Really?
Yeah. Their armor basically.
How has this never really been told?
Because people
honestly,
don't look shit up. Because people don't look shit up.
You always hear about samurai movies and everything, but you never see a fucking female.
They call them Bushi.
You never see female samurai.
They were just as badass
How
as
has
the
this not fucking been made into a movie yet, man?
Yeah, they were just as badass. They were just as badass.
Wow. I bet there probably are a bunch of fucking female samurai movies in Japan that we just don't know about.
Well, yeah, it's because we're here in America.
But there should be an American fucking female samurai movie at this point. I'm putting it out there, Hollywood. Anyone in Hollywood listen to this and they got some power?
We're calling you out.
Fucking make a female samurai movie. That shit probably do really well too.
They call them Bushi.
I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
I want to hear the story of the female samurai.
So we already went over Bushido. So I want to get into the influence of Confucianism and Buddhism.
Yeah. I'm still on the high from the female samurai, dude.
Is that badass?
This is really fucking tripping me out right now.
Well, they were expected to be just as adept as their husband with a blade, just as adept. And so say you were a Japanese woman in feudal Japan and you married a man that was a samurai to a daimyo, you were expected. Your husband was expected to train you and give you the skills.
Well, at the age of 5, did they pick up females too?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. It was not. That's one of the only how do I phrase this? One of the only warrior cultures in the world that wasn't exclusive to being male.
Well, you even look at the U.S. military. It was only up until maybe 20, 30 years ago they allowed women to serve in combat because they were they're going to be distracting. It's
fuck that, dude.
No, that's bullshit, dude. Women fight just as well as men, if not better.
Yeah, dude, and more calculated even.
And it's always the thing too about gays in the military, and it's we
don't want to get into that.
I'm just saying it's such fucking bullshit.
Yeah, well, and that just shows you that we're all equal.
Yeah,
we're all equal. But kind of backtracking a little bit, the story I was talking about was the samurai was cut down. His wife took up the blade, did her job, but also got cut down.
Oh.
And there's no explanation of.
And then they killed the kid too.
There's no marks on the bone for the kid to because they were all buried together. And because what this mass grave kind of explains, it was a small little settlement, to where the emperor came in, and because it was the Edo period. Look that up. I am not a scholar. It was the Edo period. If you want to find out exactly what happened, look that up. I can't 100% tell you what was up, but basically it was Japanese Civil War, and this tiny little town got hit. So and it, like I was saying, the sharp force trauma is some scary shit.
Oh yeah,
it's some scary ass shit because you can I actually watched a demonstration of a English broadsword and a katana on cow thigh bone,
Mm-hmm.
and like so when the English broadsword would hit, it would do flaking damage.
Okay.
It would like flake the bone off,
Mm-hmm.
but it would also break the bone.
It was more like blunt force.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now when the katana is introduced, used properly with the dragging technique that I talked about earlier,
Yeah.
clean.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that dragging technique.
Clean.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like a whistle. You know what I mean? Like you have no idea the devastation of a curved blade used properly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you hit at the hilt, and you think about any time you've ever been cut.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it getting hit at the hilt of a blade, and then it drugged and pushed. You know, that's why katanas have the mythos that they do, because they cut fucking limbs clean off.
Wow.
Clean off.
Shit,
Take a drink of soda.
man. Some crazy shit.
It's awesome though, right?
It is. It's really interesting.
So I kind of like got off track, but I want to get into the influence of Confucianism and Buddhism into Bushido. To the big thing about the Bushido, which is like I was talking about earlier, is like think about like chivalry
Mm-hmm.
and like the culture of knights and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing was behind that was to keep civility through all the violence. Like they were there fighting all the time,
Yeah.
cutting people's heads off all the time. And the whole reason behind this was to like to be civil,
Mm-hmm.
to actually still be civilized,
Yeah.
and like still have a semblance of like, okay, you know, I can kill you,
Mm-hmm.
but I also respect you.
Ah.
You know what I'm saying? So that actually brings me into the art of calligraphy.
Hmm.
So calligraphy was actually practiced by the samurai. I wish you guys could see me, but it's actually a way to practice sword technique.
Really?
Yeah. Like, so that's why it was so precise.
Huh.
That's why it was so they would hold their oh god, you guys can't see me, but like it would hold their sleeves back and make these straight lines.
Okay.
And this is something I was talking to you about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
helping me kind of like express what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so the difference between Chinese styles and Japanese styles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, imagine this in your brain.
Mm.
Japanese styles are a square.
Okay.
Chinese styles are a circle.
Oh.
So you want to think about, okay, so there's two Chinese styles that I can like give you an idea. This is Bagua. Bagua is actually all about Bagua in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Airbending is Bagua.
Mm.
It's about it's about making circles and being behind your opponent.
Huh.
And then you think about Wing Chun, which is my style of choice, is about being fluid and moving. But you think about karate and then jujitsu,
Mm.
which are Japanese styles
Mm-hmm.
that are square. They're hard.
Okay.
They're at a point. So I'm going to do something real quick,
Mhm.
kind of just like help me alliterate what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So in a Japanese style, so I'm holding up two hands,
Yeah.
so doing the knife hand.
Mhm.
And a Japanese block is wrist on wrist.
Okay.
So if you go into Wing Chun, you go into what's called a trapping wing. Wrist on wrist,
Oh, and then kind of a wrapping.
you roll around and
roll-
punch.
Okay.
You know, so it's. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I realize that's like really
No,
hard to.
yeah, I think you're explaining it well.
So calligraphy is a big part of holding it's literally having structure and
Mhm.
holding down and being solid
Yeah.
and doing.
It's a discipline.
It's a discipline. It's a discipline. Yeah. But it's like calligraphy helps the swordsman. God, what's the word? Like
Focus.
solidify
Okay.
their movements and control of their hand.
Mm.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like it's
That's just another level of training.
yeah, that's where I just wanted to like touch on calligraphy, because Japanese calligraphy is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you actually watch that, and
Oh, yeah.
I highly recommend you guys look up a random YouTube video of Japanese
I
calligraphy.
never knew about there being two different style or a couple different styles or a style from Japanese to Chinese.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So the next thing I wanted to get into is the most famous samurai of all time.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Miyamoto Musashi.
Ah,
He's dude. He wrote the Book of the Five Rings, and the Book of the Five Rings basically explains the art of warfare, the art of Bushido, the art of living in the honor of being a samurai.
Mhm.
Like he actually, lived his life to the point to where he became a Ronin. And I didn't explain Ronin. Ronin is a samurai without a daimyo.
Oh.
So a Ronin is a samurai that has gone through his life, done his duty, and decided to I'm done. I'm taking off. I'm done. Like I'm gonna.
I almost want to say they're like a vigilante in a way.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Lone Wolf and Cub?
Yeah.
That's based off of Miyamoto Musashi. So, but the whole thing is like he became.
Well, there was also another great Frank Miller book. I never read it, but I always wanted to. Was called Ronin.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, then there was like 7.
They're a lone wolf without a pack.
Yeah, exactly. So the big thing about him that is really amazing is he roamed the Japanese countryside, got challenged all the time because like you could, he was recognizable. Like anybody that saw him,
he was a celebrity.
Yeah. So he would get challenged all the time.
Yeah.
He would just like be in a town drinking some sake, and they would be like, "Hey, let's go have like basically like a gun duel, like the in the Old West. Let's draw."
Yeah.
He actually got to the point to where he actually carved a katana out of a boat oar because this.
Oh, you told me about this. I think it was in our Pirates and Ninjas episode.
Yeah,
actually,
I think I might have said this.
Yeah.
But this guy, he basically did this to prove that like I don't need to draw my blade to beat you. I don't, and he beat this dude to fucking death.
Yeah.
His opponent had a katana which could easily cut through a boat oar, but Musashi just like laid this fucking.
Because he was so
down.
Skilled.
Yeah, like I told you before, katanas are not for clashing. You see what I'm saying?
Well, he had all those. He had those skills behind him, jiu-jitsu and
Bushido,
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So and of course he had the honor of the samurai.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Wow, we're like kind of putting everything together now.
Yeah.
The puzzle is coming together.
So in his later life, he was was getting tired of the challenge life. Getting tired of roaming and people challenging him wherever he went. And he was in Okinawa, and he was at a bar and he got challenged, and it was by a kid.
Yeah.
This kid challenged him, and like Musashi was like, he looked over and there was like this little island off the shore of where they were at. He's like, okay, let's go have our duel over there.
Yeah.
And they got on the boat together, and Musashi actually rowed the boat, and then they got to the shore of this little island, and the kid got out, and Musashi pushes off.
Yeah.
And he starts to row away, and the
work
kid's
smarter, not harder.
Yeah, well, and the kid's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And Musashi replied, my martial art is to not fight.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Yeah, you told me a story in the Pirates and Ninjas episode.
Yeah. Oh, am I repeating myself? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine, dude. No, I wanted people to know it in case they didn't listen to it or hadn't heard that story. It's still a good story to tell, though.
Yeah.
About, I mean, it does very much.
And there's a statue. To this day, there's a statue of him in Okinawa.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a oar as his sword.
I want to find that picture.
I googled it earlier.
Yeah, I want to see it when we're finished the episode tonight. I want to see that picture.
So the last thing I want to get to with the samurai is seppuku, and like this is a hard topic, but it's falls into Bushido. It's a honorable death. Yeah. It's say you are in a
good way to finish off on suicide.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's
I had to make a joke.
To say you're in a situation to where the only option is to honorably die. Say you're the last samurai of a town that got overrun, and they give you the option of seppuku. You do it. Like that's the only way to honor your ancestors. Seppuku directly translates into belly cutting.
Wow.
So what I was talking to you about earlier, the tanto, that blade is specifically meant for yourself.
A weapon they carry for years without ever drawing.
Exactly.
Could you imagine carrying something for 40 years and never taking it out or using it?
Exactly. And that's meant for you.
Yeah.
That's meant for you. It's made for you.
And I'm sure like their enemies would give them that option too.
Well, absolutely. It's Bushido.
It's like, look, we can take you. We can take you hostage or take you to prison or we can kill you, or you can kill yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm sure most of the time the samurai, or pretty much all the time the samurai were like
every time.
Yeah.
If you were a real samurai, you would take that option.
Yeah.
So
and the ninjas didn't practice that.
Absolutely not.
No.
So seppuku, like you would literally, like we actually watched a video of it earlier. Well, you weren't watching, but so what it is, I'm just gonna explain it. The samurai respectfully kneels down, plunges their tanto into the right side of their stomach, takes it to the left, to the right, and then to the left again.
Jesus Christ!
And then
that sounds like a painful way to die.
Here's the thing. Is this there every single time? Well, not every single time. Almost every single time. There's another samurai that's the opposing army, whatever, that's behind you, and has their blade drawn. And as you take the third cut, they take your head off as a sign of respect. They're like, we realize that you did this. This is painful. You put yourself through this.
We don't want you to suffer.
Yeah, exactly. You did this as you did this in the code of Bushido. You honored us by doing this. Well, just like you have to go through the pain of it, but then we're just gonna cut you out. We're just gonna, yeah. So, and the actually very last thing I want to get into is the is 1877. The year Tokugawa was the emperor. He started doing trading with the West, and like guns started becoming a thing. Yeah, the samurai.
You kind of saw, and I didn't really want to bring this up, but you kind of saw that in the movie, The Last Samurai.
Oh, I don't fuck that movie. Fuck that movie.
Well, I'm not saying. I'm just kind of wanted to bring that fact up. That like,
well, actually,
you do see that in the movie where like the samurai were like pretty much starting to get axed out.
Yeah, well,
and the guns came in, and like all these samurai warriors went.
The big thing is in that era, their roles started getting changed.
Yeah,
and like they weren't as important as they used to be. And they refused to use firearms. And then, Westerners started bringing in firearms, and
it probably wasn't seen as honorable.
Exactly. Well, they think about it. Think about thousands of years of honor, and then killing somebody from a distance.
Yeah.
There's no honor in that.
No.
There's no honor in that at all. Even to this day, there's no honor in that.
No, there's not.
So that's really the downfall of the.
Not to say that killing someone is honorable.
If you both have swords.
Well, if you it's a situation, a military situation.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. But that really is the end of the samurai is gunpowder, and that kind of sucks because like they refuse.
And that happened right before the start of the 20th century.
Yeah. Well, the Chinese actually invented gunpowder, but they just made fireworks. Yeah. And then the Westerners started making.
I think they actually figured out a way to use it as weapon or use them in weaponry.
I'm sure they did. I'm absolutely sure they did. I'm sure they had cannons and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, because I'm thinking about pirates. We keep going back to pirates. But I mean, the cannonball was around a lot earlier. Then, of course, the samurai disappeared. Yeah. It was just probably the gunpowder wasn't used for weaponry for a while, maybe, or maybe they just didn't start coming into that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think how to describe it.
I get you. Well, like, in ending on the topic, I hope you guys see the respect and revere that I have for the samurai, and hopefully I sparked a little bit in you guys to kind of like check them out.
No, you taught me a lot, dude, about stuff I never ever knew about samurai, especially the part about female samurai.
Isn't that cool?
That is so cool.
Yeah, like if you were a female in feudal Japan, you were expected to be badass.
I do want to ask one last question though. Is are there still like samurai, like quote unquote samurai?
There's still people
around.
There's still people that practice the art of Bushido and Kendo, but
there's still a lot of people that.
But the rank of samurai to this day isn't really
doesn't exist anymore.
Recognized in the military. Because it's a military rank.
Oh.
It's not a thing anymore.
So people still like practice what they stood for and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure
but there just aren't real samurai.
Yeah.
What you would consider like real like warrior samurai.
And in my opinion, the samurai were the warrior.
Oh yeah.
I'd put a samurai up against a Spartan.
The ultimate warrior.
Yeah.
They had that show like Ultimate Ninja Warrior.
That's right. Yeah. I put a samurai up.
But I honestly call it like Ultimate Samurai Warrior at that point.
I put a samurai up against a Spartan. I put a samurai up against like. I'm not going to talk about any like modern day.
Well, there's a game actually called like For Honor that they do like samurai versus Vikings and ninjas.
Really.
And like all that shit.
Yeah.
I never played it, but I mean that's just kind of like what they did.
Yeah.
So if I'm wrong about that, sorry, because I've never played that game, and I just have no intention of ever playing that game because I don't like those kind of games.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed what I put together.
Dude, that was fucking fantastic, man. We did, God, how much time are we at now? We're almost 50 minutes. on samurai.
Just on samurai.
But you gave me so much knowledge, dude, and that was your research was fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude. Well, and that's like I said, that's been the samurai is a topic that I've been obsessed with since I was little. Like I said, I'm covered in Japanese tattoos. I have a rattan on the wall over there. Do you know what a rattan is, right? The Raiden hat.
Oh, okay.
And
it's the best way to describe it is a Raiden hat.
And then I actually have the rice shoes over there.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm Japanese culture is something that's like I was telling you before. Like my dad told me I should have been born then. Like I should have been like,
and maybe you were.
And I feel like
past life.
I feel like I was. And like that's a big thing in Buddhism is reincarnation.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna get to our first segment of the night, and then we're gonna go into Jedi and the Mandalorians.
That's right.
But first, we're gonna start out with what you playing, what you watching.
All right.
So Keith, what you watching?
Actually, I watched The Incredibles 2 last night.
I watched that actually this week too.
I enjoyed the fuck out of it.
That was good.
I enjoyed the fuck out of it.
Well, I feel like if Disney gets the right, when Disney originally or eventually gets the rights to Fantastic Four, they should totally bring Brad Bird on to like write it and direct it, because he's proved with like he did Mission Impossible movie. It was actually really good, but he. Honestly, when people point like, "Oh, there's never been a good Fantastic Four movie," it's like, no, there has. It's called The Incredibles. It's true.
And the other thing,
I'd love it if Brad Bird did that.
Who do you think in real life could play Mr. Incredible?
Oh God,
Brock Lesnar.
Maybe The Rock.
The Rock? No, well, yeah, he could. Yeah,
I'd like to see The Rock as Mr. Incredible.
I'd buy that.
He'd be a good
I'd
one.
buy that for $1.
Yeah, I mean, they've been saying for years he's supposed to play Black Adam at some point.
I would love that.
He looks fucking spot on Black Adam.
He would be perfect for Black Adam. The other thing I've been watching is I got gifted the first 4 seasons of the X-Men animated series.
Yeah.
I have them on DVD now, and it's like that when it came out was like my favorite.
Oh yeah,
that was fucking my favorite.
I love those.
What was your favorite story arc from that?
Oh well, probably the Phoenix Saga.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Phoenix Saga and Savage Land.
Savage Land. Oh my god.
Yeah, those two were definitely the best.
And what about the Phalanx?
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? Actually, Days of Future Past was another really great.
It was
arc.
Yes, it was.
That was with Bishop and everybody, with Bishop and Cable.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They've just never done it justice with the films. I actually saw something the other day about.
There's just too much.
They reshot like a lot of Dark Phoenix, like the next X-Men movie, like Phoenix.
Okay.
And they actually reshot it again, and the review and like the test audiences were like, this is fucking terrible.
Really?
For a second time, and it's like pretty much like they just need to like just trash the whole film, but they've already spent so much money on it, they can't. It's just it's like and like the X-Men films to me, like there's a couple in there that are good, but for the most part, the X-Men movies are just not that good.
I watched the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah,
that was I
need to watch that again.
I'm just tired of.
I've just been kind of waiting for I just want to turn my brain off and watch popcorn.
I'm just tired of the whole Thanos thing.
Yeah,
I'm over it.
Well, I watched. I've been watching. I got it last week. Actually, is Batman the Animated Series. It's like
so
volume 3.
So good.
I got it on DVD. Like I didn't get the Blu-ray because the Blu-ray is like fucking $90, and as much as I love to have it, I'm like, eh. And didn't they actually? I was watching an episode today about it was like Poison Ivy, and they actually draw like on black pages.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, it was drawn on black. Yeah,
it was drawn on black, and they actually had to add color to it, so it makes it a lot more dark and noir. And that's my all-time favorite. I mean, I have a Batman tattoo that like the very end. If you ever watch that show and you see the very ending credits and Batman, he's kind of like got like the cowl up against his face. I got that tattoo on me. And, I remember having to search for like an hour to find that image in like Google Images. Well, I didn't even think it was Google Images at the time, but it was like that's how long ago I had to find that image, and it took me an hour to find. When I finally found it, I was like, oh my God, like finally I found this image, and I got that tattooed on me.
So the other thing I've been reading, not watching, is called Born Killers: The Childhood Secrets of the World's Deadliest Serial Killers Looking into Criminology.
Really?
So like that's and the big thing I wanted to bring up is like Nick kind of like put a fire under my ass. Is like I might actually start really looking into becoming a criminologist.
Yeah,
it's kind of like down my alley. You know, like how often do I talk about that kind of shit?
A lot, dude.
If I had a jar, if I had a swear jar, and then another jar next to it that said talking about Jeffrey Dahmer, and then when nobody asked, how much money would be in that?
Oh, I know, right? So I got a few things I watched this past week, which I finished the new season or the new and last season of Z Nation. And
Dude, I love Z Nation.
Yeah, I love that show so much. It's the fun, like, zombie
fun
show.
Walking Dead.
It's unfortunate it was last season, but if it's the end of the show, I think they finished it off kind of right. I mean, I still want to see more, but I think I do think it's done. Unless Netflix picks it up, it's done. But I like the way they ended it. That was the ending. And another show I watched was Russian Doll.
Oh, I saw that, but
with it's got like Natasha Lyonne from Orange is the New Black, and it's pretty much like Groundhog Day, but her and another guy have to figure out like why they're stuck in like this loop. Because the whole thing is like they die at like they both die, and actually when they die they both die at the same time.
Interesting.
But they're trying to figure out like why do they keep looping back, and it's kind of like a little bit of a mystery at that, and they got to figure out like what's going on. I watched Swiss Army Man.
I love that movie
with Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano.
It's such a good movie.
It was pretty crazy. It was interesting.
I saw that.
The ending was kind of like okay, but it was kind of like a little fulfilling at the same time.
Yeah, I remember watching that in the theater. I actually saw that in the theater. Like,
yeah,
Daniel, I'm a
fan. It's funny how he like friends this dead body.
and the farting, like that's like out of
constantly
control.
Farting,
and he like propels himself across the water.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, and you kind of get to the ending and was like, was that real? Was he really talking to this guy, or was it all in his head? And he even questioned that too. And then when they find all his art and stuff, and it's like he was pretty much just like a mile away from this girl's house the entire time or something. It's a little bit of spoiler, sorry.
That's been out a long time.
Yeah, and then one thing I watched last night was Velvet Buzzsaw.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's like it's a horror movie.
I love my horror.
Like, and I watched a video on Looper today about how to explain the ending of the movie.
What did you watch it on?
It's a Netflix movie. It's from
Velvet Buzzsaw.
Velvet Buzzsaw, and it's pretty much about the art world. It's starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's from the same director who did Nightcrawler.
Okay.
About like the people who
paparazzi.
The paparazzi, yeah. But it was all about the art world, and like all these people, all the main characters in this movie are like you don't like them at all. But the whole premise is like this guy died in this apartment that this girl was living in, or the building, and she finds this guy's artwork, and this guy actually said in his will, like when he died, like he wanted all his artwork just destroyed. But this girl finds all this artwork, and she like fucking like, oh my god, this is amazing! Like I want to make money off this, and it goes into like kind of the art world that like it's more about kind of like how much can I make off this? Like it's all about the just the commercial aspect of it, not about how good the art is or what it invokes in you. And it has a couple artists in it too, but then but the art dealers are the main like people who you're just like, I fucking hate these people. And the main guy that Jake Gyllenhaal plays is like, he's an art critic. and at one point he trashes some dude's art because like he's dating this girl, but he completely like wrecks this guy's like life. And you're just like, but these people start dying from like the pieces like art. Like it's almost like the way I saw it explained in this video from Looper, which definitely check it out after you watch the movie. It's pretty much like these pieces of art come alive, as a way to like kind of kill, like just random these pieces of art that they've trashed. They come alive to like kind of take their revenge against these people who just are in it for the money and trash it. And it's just like it's kind of cool because it's like these pieces of art get their revenge on these guys. That's crazy. Assholes. And
that's crazy.
And just bad people, because the people in the movie like there's one girl in that movie, there's one girl, and there's like two artists, and you totally like get them, and you're like, I like, okay, like I like these people. They're the only good people in the whole film, but all the art critics and the people who are selling these pieces of art it's just like I'm just looking at how I can make money. It's just fucking cool how they just like it's definitely it goes into the state of just the art industry. Because you look at the art industry, and it's just so fucked up. It's all about how much money can I make off this piece of art, or like, oh, you're hot, I'm gonna sell your shit, and I'm just gonna make a bunch of money off it. I don't care about what you're putting out there and what this piece of art might say, or like the reason you're making this. It's all about how can I sell this. So it's pretty crazy in that way.
Yeah, I've
never
even heard of that.
It's interesting commentary on the art world. You know, he did commentary on the paparazzi world, and this guy and the same director does commentary on the art world.
I'm definitely.
And the art world is like, you know, a big thing is it's a very toxic environment.
Oh God.
And a lot of artists, I'm sure, out there, they do make art to try to just make money off of it.
Yeah.
They don't really. And at one point, one of the artists, he's just like, I need to get back to being an artist again. Like, I'm just putting out stuff I don't like.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, that's just kind of my rant on that whole film. It's well worth checking out, but it does kind of leave you like, what the fuck did I just watch? But it very much it is a horror movie, and if you kind of go into it like thinking of it as a horror movie, but it's a thinking kind of horror movie.
Can I ask you a question? This is like no, it's not off topic. Your favorite horror movie of all time that's not like mainstream.
That's not mainstream?
That's not mainstream.
I almost want to say They Live.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's kind of wasn't really. I wouldn't say it's mainstream because John Carpenter was still putting out kind of independent films, even though it was more of a major film. But it was more. People don't really think of that. Like that is one of those films.
They Live is good though.
Yeah, that is one of the John Carpenter films you think of when you think of John Carpenter. You think of Halloween. You think of The Thing.
Vampires.
You know, it's probably more of an underrated mainstream film. But if I had to go like just like what you say indie like horror film,
mine is The Hunger.
I don't know what that is.
Tell me what you were saying, and I'll explain The Hunger. I don't want to.
Well, like kind of an independent horror film.
Yeah. It's like what The Hunger is it's this guy. Oh, it's actually 7 people that wake up at the bottom of a well, and they don't understand. None of them know how they got there, and they're literally in the dark. The whole movie takes place in the dark, and they are kind of like walking around, and they see there's a hole in the ceiling, which is the hole of the well, and there's a barrel, a giant barrel of water with a scalpel on the top of it and a note, and the note says, the human body can survive 30 days without food.
Yeah.
So like these people are at the bottom of a well, starving. They have water.
Yeah.
But there's a scalpel there as well. Shit. Yeah, so it degrades real fast. But it's a good
well, even if you look at independent horror, actually Halloween is an independent horror film.
Yeah.
Back when you could still like do an independent film and get it released like kind of widely.
You ever watch?
But actually, one thing that's cool nowadays about the film industry is you can make that small film and it can be distributed to like Netflix, for instance.
Exactly.
And be seen by millions upon millions of people.
Yeah.
And it is on there like forever.
Would you say that like psychological horror or like monster horror is better? Think about like, so when I say monster horror,
I tend to enjoy psychological a little more.
Yeah.
It kind of gets to me a little more, but I do love monster horror.
Did you see the new Strangers that just came out?
No.
Did you see the original?
I saw the first one. Yeah, the first one was really good.
The new Strangers is on Netflix right now.
Is it?
Yeah, it's legit.
Huh.
Legit. But sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
There's so much stuff on Netflix right now. I've gotten my queue. Like I put in like Logan's Run today.
Logan's Run. Oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah,
I love Logan's Run.
And I'll just watch that, just kind of turn my brain off and be like, I'm gonna, because I love like old like 70s sci-fi,
that's
60s,
awesome,
like
man.
late 60s, early 70s sci-fi. Like Soylent Green is one of my all-time favorite sci-fi movies ever. It's just a great fucking film. Like early Charlton Heston, like you know, sci-fi.
Omega Man.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorites too is like Forbidden Planet.
Oh, dude,
I love that movie. You know, what's the other one? What's that great black and white one with Gort? Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh, dude, yeah,
the original. I love that one too.
Klaatu.
Yeah, Klaatu, Verata, Nektu.
That's where Army of Darkness.
Oh yeah, Army of Darkness. Yeah.
Klaatu, Verata, Nektu.
Yeah. But do you got anything else you want to talk about?
The next thing I have is this day in history.
This day in history. Yeah. Let's go.
So on this day in history, in 1891, the Dalton Gang robbed their first stagecoach.
Who is the Dalton Gang?
What?
I don't know.
The Dalton Gang is one.
I'm not versed in your world, man.
The Dalton Gang is one of the biggest outlaw gangs of the Old West ever.
Okay.
Ever.
All right.
It is like they robbed their first stagecoach, which actually the next year turned out to be robbing trains, which is like the big thing is like you see in like these classic like cowboy movies of like robbing banks.
Yeah, quote unquote.
that shit didn't happen.
Mm.
You don't walk in those times. You don't just like walk into a town and rob a bank because everybody in that town is invested in that bank. They've all got guns. You're not gonna like walk into a town and be like, put all the money in the bag.
Yeah,
because everybody and their mom is
some guys getting a shave in the barber play or the
barbershop.
The barbershop. Sorry.
Yeah, everybody there is invested in that bank.
Yeah.
So and everybody there has a gun. They're not gonna let you leave. Like that shit didn't happen.
Oh.
So like the Dalton gang was like right up there with like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which we're gonna do on a True Crime Corner.
Yeah.
Like that was a big deal. Like they set up a precedence of robbing shit that was on the move.
Oh, okay.
Like robbing shit that was on the move.
Okay.
So like it was like not a town.
So they were the first people to rob trains.
Basically.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a big deal.
Yeah. So what you got next?
And then in 1911, Ronald Reagan was born.
I was gonna say, isn't it Ronald? I was actually gonna mention it's like Ronald Reagan Day.
Yeah, 1911, Ronald Reagan was born.
1911.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was actually a thing when I was looking that up. There's actually a Ronald Reagan Act. It has to do. I didn't like.
Well, he was an actor.
No. There was a Ronald Reagan Act.
Okay. Ronald Reagan. Okay.
It has something to do with like politics, and as soon as I saw politics, I fucking stopped paying attention.
Yeah. See, I'm the person who's really into politics. Keith is like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm not even registered to vote,
Yeah.
which you should be.
Yeah, I am. I'm sure I am. Cause, whatever.
Yeah.
So where are we going from here, good sir?
We're going to Jedi next, aren't we?
Jedi.
All right, so let's get into Jedi.
Run! Yes, a Jedi's strength flows from the Force. But beware of the dark side. Anger, fear, aggression. The dark side of the Force are they. Easily they flow, quick to join you in a fight. If once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Consume you it will.
Oh, the Force is strong with this one.
Anybody who doesn't know, and I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, I don't know.
You don't know that phrase,
but that's from Empire Strikes Back.
Yes. That's Yoda training the emo fucking Luke Skywalker.
You had to throw that in, didn't you?
I did because he's emo as fuck. So okay, what I want to get into is the Jedi. Jedi, the word Jedi in George Lucas's like transcripts comes from the word judoka, which is a practitioner of jujitsu.
See, it's funny. The other night I was trying to explain what Jedi meant to somebody or the origins, and I couldn't remember it. Thank you for pointing. Thank you for telling me again.
So basically, I hate to be this broad of a stroke, but Jedi are space samurai.
That's a good way to put them, honestly. Space samurai.
They're space samurai. So basically, in the world of Star Wars, they're an old classic in the old world peacekeepers.
Yeah. Well, George Lucas, he drew off so many old ideas, Flash Gordon and the samurai. What was the director who did Seven Samurai?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh God, I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was it Ang Lee?
No. But what I want to get into next is the Jedi Code.
Yes.
The Jedi Code, which is very.
Well, do you want to explain who the Jedi are?
Okay, so the Jedi are the protectors of the
For
universe.
anybody who doesn't know,
they're the old way. They're the old way. They're protectors of the galaxy.
I mean, well, and they fall on the side of good.
They're the light side.
For the most part, unless you go into like Gray Jedi, who are kind
Gray
of
Jedi, which Luke technically is.
Yeah,
Luke is he's emo, but Luke is.
Well, Gray Jedi were Jedi who practiced the light side and a little bit of the dark side too.
They practice perfect balance, perfect balance, the yin and the yang.
Which I was kind of hoping they were going to go into with what was it, The Last Jedi. I was hoping they were going to go into Gray Jedi, and actually you look at they've actually said with Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn was more of a Gray Jedi.
I can get behind that. Who would
even Luke, but yeah, definitely Luke. He did kind of try to explore both sides of the coin.
In your opinion,
but he definitely fell more to just being a regular Jedi instead of more of a Gray Jedi.
Well, in your opinion, the best wielder of the lightsaber, the best Jedi, the best light side warrior.
Was Yoda.
He took the words right out of my mouth.
It was Yoda. He was definitely the light side Jedi. You know, he was not a great Jedi by any means.
He's basically the Buddha.
Yeah. No, and he lived in balance within balance of the Force. And I mean, even look at like the Clone Wars cartoon, which we'll probably draw off a little bit because we're going to go into Mandalorians a little bit. And they went into that to the Mandalorians in the Clone Wars cartoon, which they're actually going to be doing another season of that on the Disney streaming service.
Which is awesome.
And I'm usually been like, whenever it comes to streaming service, I'm like, I'm not going to subscribe to that. But I think when Disney does theirs, I'm like, I think I'm going to actually get it.
I'm gonna catch
because I want to watch the Star Wars show, which we're gonna talk about Mandalorians.
Yeah, the Mandalorians.
But they're gonna do another season of fucking Clone Wars cartoon.
I might catch flack for it, but my personal favorite Jedi of all time is Kenobi. I think he's.
Oh yeah, me too.
I think he's the most powerful.
And that's one movie. That's one of those side movies everybody wants.
Dude, give me some.
And Ewan McGregor would be like, I totally will do that.
Give me some Kenobi.
But
man.
they're like, they kind of axe all the side movies. They were gonna do a Boba Fett movie too. And they axed that after Solo.
But dude, Solo was amazing.
Eh.
Fuck off if you
See,
don't like that shit.
We're on opposite sides with that. You love Solo just because you're a huge Han Solo fan. I was like, it had no heart.
I loved every minute of that.
I know you
did.
It
had nothing to do with Jedi because Solo wasn't in an. I'm gonna get into this later.
Well, I don't fault the actors at all either. I think it was just the material they had just didn't work.
Well, what I want to get into is during the age of.
I did love how they dropped Darth Maul in though.
During the age of Solo being at that point in his life, Jedi were a myth.
Oh yeah,
the Force was a
well.
myth.
Even you look at with the Force Awakens and actually like Han Solo told Rey, it's like no, like everything you heard is true.
Yeah,
because they were still like Jedi were a myth.
Yeah,
like were Jedi real? It's like yeah, they were real, and everything you heard about them was true.
Well, it's like when Solo picks up Luke and Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. He's like, this is fucking hoodoo.
Yeah,
like this is.
It's all. I forgot the exact line from it.
Yeah. I'm paraphrasing. I don't
mystical
remember.
religions. Yeah.
But so I want to state the code of the Jedi.
Yeah.
When there is no emotion, there is peace. When there is no ignorance, there is knowledge. When there is no passion, there is serenity. When there is no chaos, there is harmony. When there is no death, there is the Force.
Nice.
So like that's the thing about. That's why I liken them so much to the samurai. Like on our previous topic, I feel like George Lucas.
Well, the Jedi were very honorable.
That's their thing.
Yeah,
that's their. I really liken them to the samurai because of the way they go about things. Like the lightsaber is an elegant weapon. The katana would be.
Well, that's how Obi-Wan describes it. Like the lightsaber was an elegant weapon for a less civilized time. I think is what it was.
Exactly. And I watched a show called Because Science. The thing is a lightsaber wouldn't be very elegant.
I was listening to Brian Cox on one of the newer Rogan podcasts, and Brian Cox was like, "Yeah, that could honestly be a real thing."
Oh yeah, it would be a plasma blade at that
point. Pretty much.
But I liken the katana to the lightsaber.
But actually, one thing he described was like, "Look, physics. Like we can prove like physics of something or another." But it's up to the engineers to actually figure it out.
Make it happen.
He's like, yeah, I can figure all this shit out. And like, yeah, it's possible, but I don't know if it can be made. It's like I leave that to the engineers. It's like, good job.
So next, I want to get into another similarity with the samurai. A Padawan is taken on at the age of 5. So again, same.
Which you didn't even talk about until probably the newer movies.
Yeah, they call them younglings.
Yeah,
younglings is a young person that is strong in the Force and is taken into the tutelage of a knight.
Yeah, Jedi Knight.
So
there's three levels of Jedi, or there's 4 levels. Because I always thought it was Padawan, Jedi Knight, and then Master,
and then Grandmaster.
Oh, there's a grand. I didn't know there was a Grandmaster.
Yes. So you start off
because what was Yoda?
Yoda was a Grandmaster.
Really?
Yes.
Then he's never described as that in the movies.
Well, let me give you the explanation.
Yeah, all right, sorry. I always get ahead of you.
So a Padawan is an apprentice.
Yeah.
Like think about somebody that's just learning.
Anakin Skywalker was
he eventually became a master, not a Grandmaster.
No. So he bitched about that, like you're granting the rank of master, but you're not letting me sit on the Jedi Council.
Exactly. And actually wrote down like the four points of the council, but it's it's like nerd rambling.
Well, are you? I just got to preface this by saying, are you doing canon or kind of legends?
This is canon.
Okay,
this is
canon.
100% canon.
Because there's two different things on Jedi. Which
I have to say I got all of this off of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And then the actual novels that I have.
Okay. Well, the novels are actually considered legends now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Because there's two different things now. It's like pretty much pre-Disney and post-Disney.
Right.
And they didn't fold much into canon.
Right. I get you.
So now everything that comes out is considered canon. It's fucking weird. It's like the whole thing with like Luke Skywalker having a wife and everything is like considered like legends now.
Right.
With I forgot the name of his wife.
I don't know her name either. So what I want to hit is so you start with Padawan. Padawan is like your entry level, like your
apprentice.
Your apprentice. Then after apprentice is knight, like a spelled with a K.
Yeah.
Is to be considered a Jedi Knight, you had to have completed the trials to actually be a Jedi Knight, and at that point you're working towards being a master.
Yeah.
And to be a master, you have had to successfully train a Padawan to move on to the title of Knight.
Oh.
And then to become a Grand Master, you have to train a Knight to move on to Master.
Shit.
Yeah. Cool, right?
Well, there's actually I remember I watched something once about how there are people out there, and there could be people listening to this right now who follow
there's a religion.
Who follow the Jedi religion. Actually, in Ireland, I think that was the thing where it was like actually like a certain percentage of people in Ireland like actually classified their religion as Jedi.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. It was like 20% of the population.
It's called polymath.
Yeah, but there is actually things out there where you can be certified to be like a Jedi or a Jedi Knight, or even like go into like being a Sith or something.
Yeah,
and you actually have to like pass tests by like other people who are in that organization.
Well, it's going through that same rank system. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
It should exist.
Yeah, well, I mean, you might go into a little bit, but the people, there are practices out there with people who train and have workout classes and exercise classes with lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
And I would really wish there was one out here because it'd be so much fucking fun.
I would do it today.
Yeah.
I would do it today.
I wish I could afford one of those fucking like $400 lightsabers, man. That'd be so cool, like Saber Forge or
Saber. Oh, dude,
Saber Forge.
The cool thing, like I'm kind of like jumping topics here, but the big thing about to be considered a Jedi, you have to go on what's called the Gathering, and that's where you mine for a kyber crystal.
Oh yeah,
and
they did that in the Clone Wars cartoon at one point.
You have to find your own kyber crystal. If you don't,
and you have to build your own lightsaber.
Yeah,
that is actually part of becoming a Jedi.
Yep, building your own, because that's your weapon. That's your that's your status. You built like Duke.
Well, yeah, to go back into samurai, like that was a status symbol.
Exactly.
Most definitely.
Exactly. You think about like Dooku and Yoda. Like Yoda's blade was shorter than everybody else, but it was because he's tiny.
And that was something they kept for life. Well, as long as they could keep track of it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you don't lose your blade.
Yeah, but that's something you even see in the movies is like, make your own blade. And that was something Rey never had to do, though. Rey never had to make her own fucking sword. She just...
Yet.
Yeah. I hope, but she just picked up... She somehow got Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, which... They still have never really explained it. I mean, maybe they did in the comics.
His green blade was the badass.
Came to it, but
his green blade was by far.
But I remember in the movies, like the prequels, like fucking Anakin would always lose his lightsaber.
Yeah, and Master's gonna kill me.
It's like this weapon is your life. And actually, I think there was actually I remember watching what was it? Red Letter Media put out a video and they talk about and when they had that quote like this weapon is your life, and actually with the Jedi
This is my rifle. This is my gun.
Well, no, the whole thing is like when Obi-Wan said like this weapon is your life. Like no, that's like they're pacifists. Yeah, that weapon is not their life. They do not like Jedi do not want to fight. They do not want to fight. They're always like they're very much like Buddhists.
They're Buddhists. They're basically Buddhists.
And the fighting is a last resort with Jedi.
But they are also...
But they're always portrayed in the movies and the shows as being like, no, they always want to fight with their swords. Like, no, they don't.
The thing is they're also the peacekeepers.
Yeah.
And the thing is the Jedi had their quote-unquote origin 255,000 years. No, I'm sorry. 25,000 years
Still.
before the events of the first movie. Like
that's why I hope one day they do a Knights of the Old Republic.
Dude, fuck
I think that's actually one everybody wants. So like
what color blade?
After they finish this trilogy, I think everyone hopes like they do Knights of the Old Republic.
What color blade would you want? Because this is leading up to what I'm going to talk about right now.
I mean, I will say, you might go into the black blade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mandalorians, but that was actually a really cool blade. But I always love the kind of cool like Luke Skywalker blue blade. Personally,
well, the big thing is the blue is like the most common like handed out blade. It's like the handed out blade.
Well, doesn't the crystal actually, the kyber crystal actually kind of mimics like your emotional state?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so yeah, actually go into the what the different
so what I want to
different colors of lightsabers mean.
I'm gonna. I have a preface first. Okay, so the Force is the Jedi's strongest weapon. The Force is actually what dictates the length of the lightsaber blade.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a laser. It's just a fucking laser.
It pretty much is.
It's just a fucking laser. So the wielder actually has to use the Force to.
Well, we've
hold
actually
it.
debated about this.
But it's
it
canon,
was like,
dude. I just looked it up.
Oh, okay.
I just looked it up on Wikipedia.
Well, there was always that thing about like, a non-Force user can't use a lightsaber. But then you've seen like Han Solo use one, and then
Luke used one before he even knew what
Finn
it was.
used one.
Yeah,
you know.
But that's the canon on Wikipedia is like because you literally with the Force have to hold the blade down because it's a fucking laser.
I'm gonna believe you just because you say it's canon.
Well, I looked it up. I can show you right now.
No. I believe you. I believe you.
The thing is like because literally what it is just a fucking laser. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's a laser sword.
Yeah, it's like even George Lucas has said laser sword. He's actually said that.
Oh, yeah.
So you actually have to use the Force to hold it down to a specific length. You know, so that's I want to get into like a Jedi's strength is drawn from the Force, like the opening clip.
Yeah,
the Jedi flows from the Force. So I'm going to get into the colors, and the color is based on the kyber crystal that you use.
Yeah,
and kyber crystals, if you guys don't know what a kyber crystal is a crystal that a Jedi uses to build a battery source that focuses energy through that crystal. And makes your blade.
Yeah, well, actually, in Rebel 1, they used the weapon. They actually said like the weapons they used, the blasters off a Star Destroyer, were actually focused through kyber crystals.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense
because they're so fucking powerful.
Right. Oh, and they actually create energy.
Yeah. So
starting off, I'm gonna get.
I'm so nerding out on this shit.
Yeah. give me one of these.
A little fist bump.
We fist bump.
Yeah.
Don't touch me, bro.
Well, because I feel like I've got a lot to say about this.
Yeah. So starting off, we have the blue blade, which is a commonly made handle that is handed off between Padawans. It's not a blade that is yours. To have a blue blade is something that somebody trained you with, and you handed it off.
Huh.
Yeah. So then next you have green, and green is like when you kind of progress past the Padawan, and like you're starting to have your own style, stuff like that. It's
Obi-Wan. Well, Obi-Wan and Luke both had green blades.
Qui-Gon had a green blade.
Had a green blade.
So did Yoda.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that's the blade that's kind of like the blue and green is like kind of passed around.
Okay.
It's not yours. It's not like
they're more like traditional.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have red. Red is an evil Force color. The thing is
the Sith are the ones who have red blades.
Sith only have red blades because they synthetically make kyber crystals.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The reason their blades are red is because it's synthetically made kyber crystals. It's not an actual kyber crystal. It's not like mined and whatever.
Yeah.
It's they make it in a lab. That's why it's red.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So then we have white, which is only seen once, used by Ashono Tono. And there's actually specifically in the canon, and I looked it up, she refused to tell people where she found a white crystal.
Huh. So there's no reasoning why she actually had a white crystal.
Yeah.
She was just kind of special in that way.
Yeah, she's like...
Out of all the thousands of Jedi that came before her, she's the only one ever to have a white crystal.
Yeah. and she was just like, nope, not telling you where I got this. And then we have the dark saber.
Yeah.
The dark saber was created. Terra Vissel, the one Mandalorian, like I said earlier, that was inducted into the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
So he lived out his life, was a awesome Jedi as far as like all accounts, and he died. And then another Mandalorian came in and broke in and took the blade, starting a conflict between them and the Jedi.
Such a badass fucking blade.
Yeah. Oh, and it's all shaped cool too. It's literally like a samurai sword.
Oh yeah, it was a katana, but it like kind of glue black.
Well, yeah. That's
glowed black.
That's a weird phrase, right?
Yeah, glued.
It emitted black light.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is the Mandalorian.
You want to know what it looks like? Just go to watch fucking the Clone Wars.
Yes. So what I really want to get into now is like the Mandalorian War.
Oh yeah.
Like they started to, by all rights, they should be able to expand their race. They started moving out, and the thing is like you were talking about, they're warriors. They started to kind of like take over shit.
They were the Klingons of the Star Wars universe.
Yes, yeah. And the Jedi had to take notice. The Jedi had to take notice. And so there was the Mandalorian War, which was between the Jedi and the Mandalorians. Yeah. And as things went on, the Mandalorians like started to dwindle in number.
Yeah. Oh.
And that's the big thing, is because Mandalore, the planet itself, was a wasteland at that point.
Yeah.
They were living in
domes,
biodomes. Exactly. So what species wouldn't want to get the hell out of there?
Fuck yeah.
So, and they basically, they started to dwindle in numbers, and then started to become known as mercenaries. They started taking jobs, and that's where, and we have to note, Jango and Boba weren't Mandalorian.
Yeah, in canon they weren't.
In canon they weren't Mandalorian.
Yeah. They just kind of stole that armor. But there was actually an argument to where
they were just like in a low family.
They were in a low family. Yeah.
But
so they never really explained it, but
in my mind, Boba is the coolest Mandalorian ever.
Oh, of course. Well, actually, you want to point out the symbol, like the kind of skull type symbol he had on his arm.
I have that T-shirt.
Is actually like a war flag.
It's a war flag, yeah,
for the Mandalorians.
And he had it on the Slave One.
Yeah.
And I wish I had more on the Mandalorians, but that's what I got. They were the one that was at odds with the Jedi.
But they could go toe to toe with Jedi and
yes, they can.
And beat the fuck out of them.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Their tech was set up to fight the Jedi, because they saw these people that had supernatural powers.
Space wizards.
Space wizards.
Yeah.
They're space samurai.
Yeah.
Space samurai.
They were. Yeah, they're space samurai.
And they they worked out a way to actually beat these guys in battle with their tech,
and they beat them often.
And they had
they're probably the only real threat to the Jedi. I mean,
the
besides
definitely.
like, them the Jedi getting decimated by pretty much what became the Empire, but if you wanted like a hand to hand, like, oh, I got to fucking beat these guys, you'd go with the Mandalorians.
You want a Mandalorian.
If you got a Jedi you want to kill, you find a Mandalorian.
Well, we're not talking about the Sith at this point.
No.
Because the Sith is something.
I didn't even bring up the Sith at that point. It was like, no, if you want someone to beat a Jedi, you call in a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Because they'll fucking find a way to beat them. Because they're the warriors.
That's what they
do.
That's what they do. They're the Klingons, and like the Sith is. I can't fairly get into the Sith right now.
No.
They're the. If you guys don't know Sith, why are you listening to the show? But the Mandalorians would be the physical guys that could bring down a Jedi.
Yeah, they didn't need the Force to beat them.
Yeah, because they're not Force sensitive.
No.
They're not Force sensitive. And so that's what I got, man.
Yeah?
That's what I got.
Oh. You want to talk about their armor at all?
Well, their armor was actually specific to their species, and I wish you guys could see what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But they have like
like a forehead,
and then down the mouth.
Yeah. I mean, if you see Boba Fett, you know what it looks like.
Well, I actually watched a documentary. Their face armor by George Lucas is actually inspired by the Spartans.
Really?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I can see that actually, like 300 and stuff.
Yeah. It basically gives you your eyes and your mouth.
Yeah.
And that's what you get for.
You even look at medieval armor. Yeah, they have like the nose.
Well, the
going down,
like the gladiators of that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like the Jedi were based off of the Judoka, the samurai.
Yeah,
and think about like the Sith based off of Spartan warriors.
Oh yeah.
Like, have you ever had that in your mind before?
No.
Like, think about that.
Well, do you mean the Sith or the Mandalorians?
Did I say Sith?
Yeah, you said
I
Sith.
meant Mandalorian.
Yeah, the Mandalorian.
Mandalorian are based off the Spartan warriors or the Greek.
Yeah.
So,
and we wouldn't be doing do justice right now if I didn't mention that Jon Favreau is working on a TV show, which honestly, if you listen to this a long time from now, it's probably out, which I totally want to watch. But he's doing a show about Mandalorians.
Is it Boba?
Or it's called The Mandalorian, as far as we know.
Oh shit!
And it's about like I guess a Mandalorian in I don't know if it's like
it's probably not Boba.
I don't know if it's post Return of the Jedi or after like what we're currently watching. I'm guessing though it's probably like post Jedi
because Django.
But it's about a Mandalorian and like an assassin, a warrior, but he's got the Mandalorian armor on him. So I'm really interested to see like that show. I mean, like I said, if someone's listening to this like a year, 2 year from now, and it's out, like we'll probably totally have talked about it at this point. And be like, oh my god, that was fucking amazing. But
what's your favorite in the Star Wars canon? Your favorite Mandalorian moment?
Well, the one I would have to draw on is Clone Wars.
Mine is
Sabine. It was Sabine Wren, I think. She was like the Emperor of Mandalore at one point.
Yep.
But she was. That's actually one thing we didn't bring up is the fact that at one point during with Mandalorians, where and actually canon, what is considered canon now is the planet wasn't decimated, but she tried to move, and then one thing that caused another civil war or like another faction of Mandalorians to break out was that one faction of Mandalorians, years later were like, hey, we want to be pacifists, we want to be peaceful, but another faction was like, we need to like kind of adhere to our roots and be like what we were before, and
I know,
which is warriors.
Yes, I follow.
Yeah.
I follow.
So that's two kind of warring factions with that culture.
For me, my favorite in the canon is Boba.
Yeah.
Tracking Han.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like that's there. He leaves the Falcon leaves the system, and the Slave One.
Oh yeah, when they let the trash out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he specifically tries to make his ship look like trash, and then he follows it.
Well, it sucks. I mean, really, even like through all the Star Wars movies, they never really brought up the Mandalorians.
Well,
at all.
We're getting,
it's only in Clone Wars they ever brought up Mandalorians.
We're getting it now, though.
Yeah,
we're getting it now, though.
And I am really really happy that like Jon Favreau was like, I want to do a show about Mandalorians, because everyone wants to fucking see that. Yeah. Honestly, like you ask somebody like, oh, like what are the stories you want to see for like a Star Wars expanded universe? You'd be like I want to see an Obi-Wan movie, I want to see a Boba Fett movie, I want to see a Mandalorian movie, I want to see Knights of the Old Republic.
I want an Obi-Wan movie. I said that earlier.
Yeah. No, I want it too. And what's cool is Ewan McGregor would be like, I totally would do that.
Dude, could you imagine
how good that would be? That. I wonder what story they would use, because it'd have to be in between like the prequels and then
I would like to see his Padawan journey.
Yeah,
that's what I would like to see.
That'd be interesting. I would honestly like to see what he was doing in between the prequels and the A New Hope. I'd like to know what he was up to, because
Yoda was his master.
Yeah,
that dude. And at
one point they tried to retcon. They tried to retcon it and be like, oh no, Qui-Gon Jinn was my master. They tried to retcon that shit.
But in the OG shit,
yeah,
Yoda is Obi-Wan's master.
Oh yeah.
So, but I love it all.
Well, is there anything more you feel like you need to hit with Jedi or Mandalorians at this point?
Dude, I think we put it together solid. I think we put it together solid. I don't have anything else, dude.
Any corrections or anything else?
No.
We're still trying to figure out a way to end the show, by the way. I feel like we need another segment to end the show. We haven't quite figured it out. If you got any ideas, hit us up on send us an email at nerdybonescast@gmail.com. Hit us up on Instagram or Facebook and give us an idea.
And if I got anything wrong tonight, let me know.
Actually,
if I didn't say something right in Japanese, let me know.
Well, Megan will be my friend Megan will be our guest next week.
Let them know what we're talking about next week.
By the way, I'll say right now, we do another show on this network called Philosophical Bones, and she coined the term Philly Bones. I just want to finally, after weeks and weeks of time,
I say it.
I just want to give her credit for that. But anyway, we're doing an episode next week about just in time for Valentine's Day. We're gonna put out like
it's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be a fun
day
one.
before or the day of, whichever you're listening to, or even probably months or years or years, weeks, whatever. We're gonna do the history of pornography.
Yes.
And the history of sex toys.
That's gonna be crazy
because we're going from samurai and Jedi and Mandalorians to porn to sex and pornography.
I'm just gonna say, just to like preface this coming up episode, the word hysteria comes from hysterectomy, and that's kind of where I'm going at on my angle of it.
It should be a really fun episode for all of us involved.
Yep.
So look forward to that next week, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you guys for checking
Or
this
if
out.
it's already out, fucking check it out. And like I said, we mentioned Pirates and Ninjas on this episode a lot.
We got Mitch Hedberg and Bill Hicks coming up.
Oh yeah.
What else do we have coming up?
Angels and Demons of Supernatural.
Yep.
And then beyond that, we don't really have an idea.
yeah, but we always pull it out, man.
Mm-hmm.
So Nerdy Bones.
And you got Rufus the Villain's True Crime Corner.
Oh, thank you.
We gotta plug ourselves, man.
We do. So this month on the 21st. We have Rufus the Villain's True Crime Corner. We're doing Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is going to be really good.
Yeah. And we got Philly Bones every week.
Yep.
Philly Bones. Philosophical Bones.
Philly Bones. But
every Sunday, it comes out every Sunday.
For True Crime Corner, Josh and I typically take turns picking the topic, and you guys know me. I pick a serial killer every time.
Yeah.
If you guys have an idea for that, I've got a bunch of ideas, but if there's somebody that you want to hear, you let me know.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
thinking my ideas after Butch Cassidy is either H.H. Holmes, Richard Ramirez, or Albert Fish. So if you guys are familiar with that,
I vote H.H. Holmes. So that's
that would be a good one, man.
So today we covered Samurai. We talked about ninjas a little bit. We went into Jedi. We went into Mandalorians.
Yep.
So
this is a good one, man.
We covered everything at this point.
This is a good one.
What else can we talk about at this point?
I don't know. I think we're done, man.
You know, we're at over an hour and a half. So I hope you enjoyed the episode.
Thank you guys for
thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading it. We honestly, I look at that stuff all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
So we actually really appreciate every download you give us.
Oh, real quick shout out! Ronnie Henley started his own podcast.
Oh yeah.
It's called
the 90s Nostalgic.
Yes, and I'm proud to say I'm the first subscriber.
Yeah, I listened to most of it the other day when I was doing some homework. They really enjoyed it.
He specifically told me that he took an influence from what we were doing.
Fuck yeah.
I'm super happy.
Shout out Ron, man.
Fuck yeah, Ronnie. We love you, dude.
Yeah, dude, we absolutely love you.
So yeah,
you've always been our number one fan.
Yep.
and honestly, I could say 2 years from now, I will totally shout that guy out.
So Nerdy Bones.
And we're out.